Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a special COASTER-net update. We're talking about the Thrilling 32, the Ride Warrior Choice Awards tonight here. I'm Danny Miller alongside Andy Barchak. And Andy, we're kind of getting into the winter. The snow is starting to fall. It's starting to get cold. And the votes are rolling in for the 2018 edition of the Ride Warrior Choice Awards, which will feed into the Thrilling 32 roller coaster bracket challenge, as we like to do every year. Let's see. 2012 was the first year we did this in. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So this is the seventh year that we've been doing this poll and the bracket challenge, and it has grown each and every year, and we're on pace to grow again this year, which is excellent. So we want to thank everyone who has voted thus far. And Andy, will you put the link to the site there below in the description so the people who have not yet voted can do so? We're taking voting submissions for the poll up until what do we usually say? We usually say like the Wednesday after New Year's when people get back to work. So that'll be January 2nd. So we'll be taking votes up to till the end of the day on January 2nd, which is a Wednesday. So you have just under a month to get your votes in. Once again, for those of you who are not familiar, the voting is via spreadsheet this year. It's not using Google Form. The feedback was that the Google Form was too difficult to type in all the roller coasters, took too long. So we have drop-down menus in an Excel file for the roller coaster rankings this year, and the general awards, you just type an X in the box next to your selection. The feedback has been overwhelmingly positive that most people seem to be liking this better than the Google Forms. That is good news. We've had a few people give some constructive criticism, but overwhelmingly people are liking this better. So you can do it in Excel. You can do it in OpenOffice as well. So if you don't have Microsoft Excel, you can do it in OpenOffice. I believe someone else said there was a third-party program they got it to work in as well. But generally, those are the two you want to do it in. You want to do it on a computer if you can, so that the spreadsheet has its full intelligence. Questions, email me, Danny Miller at COASTER-net.com, and we'll help you get those ballots submitted before January 2nd. So, Andy, we did this last year where we kind of got to the midway point of the voting, and, we see that the votes are coming in, but we don't look at the ballots. We don't run the calculations while the ballots are coming in. So we currently have no idea what any of the winners of any of the awards are going to be. We have no idea what the rankings are going to be. And we did this on purpose last year for the purpose so we could have this discussion here where we maybe talk about some of the new rides that came out this year and maybe talk about whether or not they might make it into the Thrilling 32. Last year, it was kind of a limited discussion because it really came down to Mystic Timbers and Mind Blower were the ones, and Invader to some point. And we talked a little bit about some of the rides in England that I had recently ridden that we thought might get in, and maybe some rides that get in. But we had so many 2018 rides this year that there's a lot of them to touch on. But I think generally, when you look at the wood coaster side, and we'll do that first because there's not a whole lot to talk about there, really the only wood coaster that we're talking about that maybe has enough riders to really qualify is maybe Oscar's Wacky Taxi. And I know some people got down to ride it. It's not really out of the way because it's in a very heavily populated area, kind of between Dorney Park and Great Adventure, Hershey Park, Knoebels. It's in that region down near Philadelphia. But Sesame Place isn't really a place you seek out like a Hershey Park or a Great Adventure. Or even
plus it's a kids park too, where most people aren't just going to find their way there. Right. Only the real credit whores like yourself find themselves.
Well, and if you don't have the Busch Garden SeaWorld pass, the Busch Garden SeaWorld pass, the Platinum Pass, it's included. So if you don't have that pass, it's really tough to pony up the $60, $70 entrance fee that park, because it's priced kind of on the same level as like a Legoland. So to get 2 credits, it's really tough to pay that money if you're not a pass holder. We had the Platinum Passes this year, so we made it a point to get down there to get those 2 credits this year, knowing that we may not do the Busch Gardens passes this year. So that was something. I think Oscar's Wacky Taxi has an outside shot of squeaking in. Wooden Warrior has been in the past. Rorosaurus has always suffered from not having as many riders to qualify to be accurately ranked. Although it was last year, I think both of them were just outside the Thrilling 32 last year. And so Switchback has been just outside. So I would say that Oscar's Wacky Taxi probably going to fall in line with those rides. I think it's in the top 50. I think we maybe see it on the overall list when we get done with the Thrilling 32, but I don't think it'll be in the bracket.
I think you would be right if Oscar's Wacky Taxi was at any other park besides Sesame Place. If it was at any, even like mid-level park or especially a major park, I think all the things that you just said would be true, but given that it's at Sesame Place, I don't even think we see it in the top 50. I don't think I think there's no shot that it qualifies for the top 32. There's just not enough people going down there, I feel. I haven't heard anybody talk about that ride besides you. So in given all that, I think even if it was at a major park, I think it has a lot of issues that you see with the Wooden Warriors, with the Rorosauruses. Those are probably better examples of a good, coaster than Oscar's Wacky Taxi is anyway. So if those aren't getting in, I would say this certainly is not either.
Yeah, and Oscar's Wacky Taxi isn't, outstandingly better than any of those other ones. Wooden Warrior, Rorosaurus, Switchback, the three that you would really compare to it in the States. It's not any worse than any of those, but I don't think it's really a whole lot better. I think it's very comparable. It's very similar to those rides. Switchback maybe has a little bit more in terms of uniqueness than those other three, but that doesn't necessarily mean better. So I think we're kind of on the same page there. Now, when we talk about the steel coasters, that gets far more interesting because there were so many of them. Let's get this out.
And I think not only so many, but so many quality coasters that we are going to see an impacted 32 list here.
Yes.
There's no doubt that the 32 list is going to shift. At least by one, if not by more than one. There's a very good shot here when you start looking at this list here. There's a very good shot that you could see 3, maybe 4 new coasters appear on this list.
Yeah, and I think we start with the easy ones. I think the easy ones on the low side are the single rails and hang time. I don't think those rides are getting in. Over the years.
I feel like the single rails have an outside shot of getting in because the people who have ridden them seem to have liked them. The people who are going to go down there to Texas or out there to California, I don't see. I think the single rails are going to benefit from the first year here that we've seen first year coasters do well. Something like a Banshee that the first year people going out really love it. It ranks highly, but then as more people tend to get out there, it kind of, finds its way towards the middle somehow if it's not that outstanding. I think the single rails have the opportunity to possibly break into the low 32s, at least maybe probably into the top 50 somewhere, just because the low ridership and people who have ridden them seem to have liked them a lot. So I think there's the outside chance that these do better in its first year. I think long-term wise, I don't think they're going to be in the top 50 very long. I think it's a one and done type deal, even if they do get in this year.
Yeah, I think the other one that people might think about is hang time, but I don't think hang time is a quality enough coaster. I think the single rails have a better chance of getting in than hang time. Yeah, I will say that.
Like the single rails are a fun ride. Hang time's a fun ride, but hang time just doesn't hang with the rest of the ride.
Yeah, exactly. Now, so where it gets a little bit more interesting is where you start talking about the 3 RMCs, the 3 Iron Horses, and then Time Traveler. Because all 4 of them were very well received. Steel Vengeance obviously has always been talked about. Twisted Timbers gets very, very strong reviews as well. A good number of people say that they prefer Twisted Timbers to Steel Vengeance. So I think
those people are stupid.
I agree. But enough people have said it that I think Twisted Timbers will.
People say a lot of things, and there's enough people saying a lot of things.
Well,
that doesn't make it any more valid.
I think personally, Steel Vengeance and Twisted Timbers are definites. I think those two for sure are going to be in the Thrilling 32. Then you get to the other two. Time Traveler, I have yet to hear someone say anything negative about Time Traveler in the sense of they didn't like it. I've heard critiques like, I wish we didn't sit on the second launch so long. I wish it spun more. I wish the ride area in the valley was better themed or whatever. Like I've heard small things like that, but generally speaking, overwhelmingly positive response for Time Traveler. And I think Time Traveler makes me think of a ride like Cannibal and how Cannibal got in last year. But then on the other side of that coin, a ride like Monster did not get in. And I think Time Traveler is maybe on that bubble where it might get in, it might not. But I would lean towards Time Traveler getting in.
There's two separate arguments here. Does it deserve to be on the top 32 list? Absolutely.
I think it does.
The issue is, have enough people gotten out there to ride Time Traveler to accurately rank it, to accurately overcome, the ridership requirement. It's fair to do that. It's fair that you can't throw rides out there that only two people have been on, that they both rank at number one, and now all of a sudden it's in a top 10 list. That's just silly.
Can't do that.
That's over-ranking one man's opinion, one woman's opinion, and it's silliness. It's pure silliness. Other polls do that. We don't do that. You have to have a ridership number to accurately rank something, to put it onto the list. And so Time Traveler, I feel like enough people have been out there. Right on the edge, though. It's right there. Like, I feel like enough people, and once I think it hits that number, like you said, I haven't heard a lot of people say anything bad about it. So I like the ride a lot. I think it's one of the best rides. You put that in any other year, you throw that into last year's new coaster group, it's the best new ride, no question. A lot of people got out to Silver Dollar City this year. Ace went out there for a few events. So it'll be interesting to see who casts their ballot and how this affects Time Traveler.
Yeah, and I would lean towards Time Traveler getting in personally. That's what I would predict. And then we get to the topic of Twisted Cyclone. Now, I did not ride Twisted Cyclone this year. You did. I know a number of people who did and had good things to say about it. So I think Twisted Cyclone gets into the same discussion as a ride like Joker, where Joker just missed the 32 last year. Storm Chaser narrowly got in. So I think, personally, I've heard a number of people say that Twisted Cyclone is better than Storm Chaser. So if that's the case, then I think Twisted Cyclone has a chance at getting in as well. And do we see, 4 other rides possibly now getting in? Do we see a ride like Storm Chaser topple all the way out? Myself, and so I know a lot of people who, because they went to Northern California this year for Railblazer, also got to ride Joker for the first time. And I think Joker is a superior ride to Storm Chaser. So do we see a ride like Joker jump up in the ranks, and we see at least a 5th new ride getting in, and that starts to push the bottom of the pack down? And so and again, this is a discussion that is related to the new rides, but not entirely, because when we have so many of these new RMCs, and people like to rank the RMCs amongst themselves, right? So when you start ranking the RMCs, it sounds like the new ones we got this year, most people are in agreement that the 3 new Iron Horses we got this year are all better than Storm Chaser. So I see Storm Chaser as a ride that's going to start to fall out. And if that's the case, I think we'll see all 3 Iron Horses get in. And then if you go time travel,
is you got the Storm Chaser idiots out there that rank it number 1 or number 2. Let's call a spade here, Danny Miller. So none of these rides, no one's ranking Twisted Cyclone #1 anywhere, and no one with sense
No,
it.
that's true.
So that's where the problem with knocking Storm Chaser out. I guess it all depends on how the math works out and how the votes come in. And for something to enter the 32, something would indeed have to leave, and you would have to target those bottom couple coasters, and that's where Storm Chaser is. But I don't know if you would attribute that to Joker moving up or Twisted Cyclone moving in. I think it's more likely that the next two we're going to talk about with Twisted Timbers and Steel Vengeance.
Yep.
I believe those are the rides that would knock something like Storm Chaser out, because Steel Vengeance is going to be on the list. I don't think there's a person in the world that doesn't think that Steel Vengeance is going to be on this list. So that one, I don't even think there's merit to be discussed there, because it's going to be on here somewhere, probably in the top 10, if not much higher than that. I think the question is, Twisted Timbers is one that I feel is going to make the list, and the question is, how high can Twisted Timbers go? Once again, this one I'm going to compare most to maybe Banshee than any other ride that we've talked about so far, because so many people went to Twisted Timbers, so many people got to go to the media day, to the ACE events, to the opening of it. It opened on time mostly.
Yep. Had some trouble, had some hiccups the early part of the year, but it settled in nicely by the middle of the season, and a lot of people got to ride it a lot of times.
A lot of people got to ride it. So the question is, most of those people seem to like it. Once again, I didn't hear a lot of people saying, I don't like Twisted Timbers. I haven't heard actually anybody say, oh, that's a piece of garbage. So I think this one's going to see the Banshee effect, where we might even see Twisted Timbers in the top 10 this year. Now,
I was just going to say, I think it has a very legitimate shot to be there.
And is it going to be a top 10 coaster moving forward for the next few years? I don't think so. I think you're going to see it fall into the mid-20s. But I think for this first year, everyone who was really excited about Twisted Timbers went out to ride it, probably validated their own opinion, ranked it highly, and then we're going to see it be pretty high on this list, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think Steel Vengeance and Twisted Timbers are going to be the two highest of this new class, and I think those are definite. I think those are locks to be in. I personally think Twisted Cyclone and Time Traveler will both be in the bracket. I think they're going to be a little bit closer to the bubble. And we can talk, maybe it's a topic for a different show, of what rides get in, what rides get in that were out, what rides were in last year that fall out, and maybe some of those. I think maybe that's a discussion for another show. But I certainly think the 2018 rides are going to be alive and well when we reveal the brackets here in a couple months.
I think I think you're going to see 3, possibly 4, maybe even a 5th in there, depending on how things go.
I wouldn't rule out a 5th. I'm going to say 4. My prediction, I'll say 4 get in, and I'll say
I would probably say 3. I think your Steel Vengeance, Twisted Timbers, Time Traveler, I think those 3 are locks. I'm not quite sold on Twisted Cyclone getting in. That one did have a few detractors out there. Some people still saying it's too short. So that one I would not be surprised.
I feel the same way about Twisted Cyclone as I did about Mind Blower last year, and Mind Blower was number 33. So I feel Twisted Cyclone is going to have the same sort of battle, where if it gets in, it's going to barely get in. But if you say 3, I'll go 4 and say I think Twisted Cyclone gets in, having not ridden it.
And that being said, Danny, something else is new for this year's Thrilling.
Oh, we've got something else.
We are playing for a brand new prize. That we said, you know what? People give out, tickets made of gold. Some people give out plaques. No. We're going to do it COASTER-net style.
Uh-oh.
And Danny.
What do we got? We got?
This is the unveiling. Now, this is last year's. This is the 2018 Thrilling 32. We have the official wrestling belt.
Yeah, the Thrilling 32 championship belt, ladies and
gentlemen. Thrilling 32, and as you can see, on the one side, you got wood, you got Voyage there. On the other side, you got steel, you got Fury 325, and then in the middle, you got the wonderful Thrilling 32 hacks. And
hold that a little closer to the camera there.
Look at that. Look at that.
Thrilling 32.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. So that is neat looking.
You got the Fury. Oh, look at this. The wrestling belt. we'll be bringing this around to different places that we go to this year, I think.
That is beautiful.
Because this is a custom-made belt done by our beautiful friends over at Undisputed Belts. So this is going to be, now the winners are going to get their plaque, their side plate right there. So if you retain, you stay on for another.
You stay on the belt.
You stay on the belt. If you lose, you get taken off, and the new guy comes on, just like in the good old WWE.
That is excellent. Good job out of you for putting that together.
Look at that. So we finally have a trophy that can proudly be displayed. The Thrilling 32 championship title. Look at that. Oh, champion.
That is awesome. I wonder if they'll let us ride the rides with that.
Well, not Steel Vengeance.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, we got to bring that to Hollywood Nights, and we'll keep. Even if Voyage doesn't win this year, we got to bring it and put the Voyage plaque on for Hollywood Nights this year.
Yeah, that would be nice. So take a few pictures, with it, out there.
Stand out in front of the sign with the belt proudly displayed.
So that's new for this year. We're going to see who wins this year and have some fun with this. So I think that right now wraps us up here. But you know what? You still got time to vote. I think that's what we're trying to get at here. The voters need to come out. The voters need to have their voice heard. This is the people's choice. This is the Ride Warrior Choice Awards. That if you complain about other polls and your voice not being heard, this is your opportunity to get your voice heard and to have your vote counted. Not just the elitist.
That's right. This is the everyman's poll.
Every man can enter this poll, and every opinion is valid and equal. So there you go. That's the Thrilling 32 for you in a nutshell in the Ride Warrior Choice Awards. So as always, thank you for joining us here on COASTER-net. I'm, of course, Andrew Barczyk from Chicago, Illinois.
And I'm Danny Miller from Binghamton, New York.
Right on, Ride Warriors.
Rock the vote, guys. Thanks.